Here we go. Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna. It's February 13, 2020. Today is the appearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Goswami Maharaj. He's the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. And he was a prolific writer, and he was known as the walking encyclopedia. And there's one of his books, he wrote several languages, and the one book that Prabhupada directly gave us from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is the Brahma-samhita. And the Brahma-samhita was completely lost to antiquity, completely lost till about 500 years ago. And then traveling in South India, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in maybe the Korma temple, some temple, he found in the storeroom of, he found some literatures. One of them was the fifth. Brahma-samhita is actually 100 chapters, and Lord Chaitanya found the 5th chapter, and Bhaktisiddhanta gave it to us with translations and purports in English. And that's the one book from Bhaktisiddhanta that Prabhupada directly gave us. Prabhupada he would say his letters where he says, yes, learn these verses from Brahma-samhita. And it's out of the 6th chapter, 62 verses, and in there's a series of 27 verses that all end with this. Prabhupada says these verses are especially beautiful. Learn them and recite them, and people will be attracted to Krishna consciousness. And so I thought this morning before japa period, we read a transcription of parts of one of the lectures of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada gave many lectures on the anniversary of the appearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta. We read one of them in India, where Srila Prabhupada describes his personal first meeting and how he was completely defeated by Bhaktisiddhanta, like that. So I thought we could get a feel for Bhaktisiddhanta here and read verse purport from his Sri Brahma-samhita. Okay, so this is text 38 of chapter 5, the Brahma-samhita. I will, we can do the Sanskrit words. Premanjana, Charita, Bhakti, Vilojanena, Santa, Sadaiva, Vidayeshu, Vilokayanti, Shamasundam, Chintya, Guna, Svarupam, Govinda, Adipurusha, Tam, Aham, Bhajami. Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, Santa Sadaiva Vidayeshu Vilokayanti, Nam Chamasundam Achintya Guna Svarupam. This is text 38. This is text 38. I think that's what the chat asked. We'll continue changes and make sure what type of things. Yes, this is text 38, Brahma-samhita. Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, Sadaiva Vidayeshu Vilokayanti, Yam Chamasundam Achintya Guna Svarupam, Govindamali Bhushantam Bhajami, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, Santa Sadaiva Vidayeshu Vilokayanti, Yam Shama Sundara Chintya Guna Swarupa Govindamadi Bhusam Tamaham Bhajami Mandana Charita Bhakti Virochanena Chanta Sadaiva Vidayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Ramachintya Guna Swarupa Govindamadi Bhusam Tamaham Bhajami Achintya Guna Oh yeah, it should be Achintya. You're correct. It should be Achintya. There's an A. Correct. So there's an A. It's Achintya. Correct. Thanks for noticing. Okay, who'd like to chant the verse?
Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Sadaiva Videshu Vilokayanti
Chanda Sadaiva Vidayeshu Vilokayanti
Yam Shama Sundara Chintya Guna Swarupam
Yam Shama Sundara Achintya Guna Swarupam
Govindamadi Bhusam Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Bhusam Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Surita Bhakti Vilochanena Chanda Sadaiva Vidayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundara Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindamadi Bhusam Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Surita Bhakti Vilochanena Premanjana Surita Bhakti Vilochanena Sadaiva Vidayeshu Vilokayanti
Chanda Sadaiva Videshu Vilokayanti
Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam
Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam
Govindamadi Bhusam Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Bhusam Tamaham Bhajami
Premanjana Surita Bhakti Vilochanena
Premanjana Surita Bhakti Vilochanena
Sadaiva Vidayeshu Vilokayanti
Chanda Sadaiva Vidayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindamadi Bhusam Tamaham Bhajami
Premanjana Surita Bhakti Vilochanena
Premanjana Surita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Vidayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindamadi Bhusam Tamaham Bhajami. Would anyone on internet like to chant the verse? Okay.
Manjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena
Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena
Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti
Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti
Yam Shama Sundarama Chincha Guna Svarupam
Yam Shama Sundarama Chintya Guna Svarupam
Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Okay. Prema of love. Anjana with a soul. Charita tinged. Bhakti of devotion. Vilochanena with the eye. Santa the pure devotee. Sada always. Eva indeed. Hridayeshu in their hearts. Lokayanti see. Yam whom. Sham dark blue. Sundaram beautiful. Achintya inconceivable. Guna with attributes. Svarupam whose nature is endowed. Govinda Govinda Adipurusham original person. Him aham I Bhajami worship. Hare Krishna as a welcome. Okay, so the translation by Bhaktisiddhanta. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shama Sundar, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts, with the eye of devotion, tinged with a salve of love. Purport by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. This is Bhaktisiddhanta's appearance day, so it's unusual, but we're reading from Bhaktisiddhanta. This is the book that Prabhupada gave us to read. Purport. The Shama Sundar form of Krishna is his inconceivable, simultaneous, personal and impersonal, self-contradictory form. Stay with us here. Well, Bhaktisiddhanta is kind of known for sophisticated academic English. Because like this is like British English from 100 years ago that was used for university professors, and that's who he's talking to largely. So, okay, so let's hear from Bhaktisiddhanta whatever we pick up. True devotees see that form in their purified hearts under the influence of devotional trance. Quite straightforward. The form Sham is not the blue color visible in the mundane world, but is the transcendental variegated color affording eternal bliss and is not visible to the mortal eye. Maybe some of you a few times heard me say, people say, oh, you believe God is blue? Yeah, I believe God is blue. As far as my realization of what is that blue, of that I have very little realization. I know it's not the blue that I see with this organic chemistry called the eye. So I got that from BrahmaSam5. He said, so he's saying it's not the blue color visible in the mundane world, but it's the transcendental variegated color affording eternal bliss and is not visible to the mortal eye. On a consideration of the trance of philosophy, as in the shloka Bhakti Yogena Manasi, etc., it will be clear that the form of Sri Krishna is the full personality of Godhead and can only be visible in the heart of a true devotee, which is the only true seat in the state of trance under the influence of devotion. When Krishna manifested himself in Vraja, both the devotees and non-devotees saw him with this very eye, but only the devotees cherished him, eternally present in Vraja as the priceless jewel of their heart. Nowadays, also the devotees see him in Vraja in their hearts, saturated with devotion, although they do not see him with their eyes. The eye of devotion is nothing but the eye of the pure, unalloyed spiritual self of the jiva. The form of Krishna is visible to that eye in proportion to its purification by the practice of devotion. When the devotion of the neophyte reaches the stage of Bhava Bhakti, the pure eye of that devotee is tinged with the salve of love by the grace of Krishna, which enables him to see Krishna face to face. The phrase "in their hearts" means Krishna is visible in proportion as their hearts are purified by the practice of devotion. The sum and substance of this shloka is that the form of Krishna is Shyamasundar, Natavar, best dancer. I wanted everyone to see me as the best dancer. BhaktisiddhantaAppearanceBrahmaSam5 I might have to settle as number 2 after Krishna. In some places, it's even stated that Krishna is the best dresser, indicating a competition there too. It's very depressing. Very depressing. Okay, but I'm going to continue. Muralidhar, holder of the flute, and Shribanga, triple bended. Shaman Shribanga, Shaman Shribanga, Kasham is eternally graceful, threefold bending form of Shyamasundar playing the flute eternally manifests. This is not a mental concoction, but it's transcendental and it's visible with the eye of the soul of the devotee under trance. Okay. Om Ganatimirandasya Gnana Shalakaya Tachuranitamyena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sapitamyena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamska Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sakaragnatam Vidantam Sajivam Sadaitam Savadutam Parishana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pradan Saganalanta Shri Shakanvitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopikantam Rantakantam Namosante Tapta Kanchan Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamani Hari Priye Panchakalpati Yudhyascha Vipasindhu Devata Patitan Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Veda Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurani Pracharine Nirshesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate BhaktisiddhantaAppearanceBrahmaSam5 Saraswati Namine. Of my respectful obeisances to His divine grace BhaktisiddhantaAppearanceBrahmaSam5, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vidya Daine Kabare Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances to Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitadas, another name of Shri BhaktisiddhantaAppearanceBrahmaSam5, who is favored by Srimati Radharani, and who is the ocean of transcendental mercy and the deliverer of the science of Krishna. Madhur Yojba Pramadya Shri Upanuga Bhaktida Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Bose. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, the personified energy of Sri Chaitanya's mercy, who delivered devotional service which is enriched with conjugal love of Radha and Krishna, coming exactly in the line of revelation of Srila Goswami. Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Upanuga Vihudha Pasti Anta Advanta Harine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are the personified teachings of Lord Chaitanya. You are the deliverer of the fallen souls. You do not tolerate any statement which is against the teachings of devotional service enunciated by Srila Rupa Goswami. Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Vijayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundarama Shinchatana Swarutam Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shamsundar Krishna himself, possessing innumerable, inconceivable, transcendental attributes that whom the pure devotees see in the heart of hearts with the eyes of devotion, tinged with the solid of love. Take a look. Here's some pen. Okay, got it. All right, so I'm going to move the computer closer here. Let me know if that's improved. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna close the door. Yeah, so there's no competing sound. That might be helpful. We can remember that for future. Okay. All right. So this is the, well, this series of 27 verses, along with the very first verse of BrahmaSam5, Prabhupada quotes a lot, and this verse in particular is one of his most quoted BrahmaSam5 verses. Of course, in the morning, every morning, Prabhupada instituted the Govindam song with wonderful psychedelic music. It is, and there's it's the 30th and 32nd verse of BrahmaSam5. The 30th is I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is adept at playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, and head bedecked with peacock feather, whose figure of loveliness is tinged with the hue of dark blue rain clouds, and whose figure of beauty is tinged with the hue of dark blue rain clouds, and whose unique loveliness is charming millions of cubits. But also in that stuff. And that, okay, and that verse points to how with one limb, Krishna is able to do the functions of all the limbs. And that points to this, I should say, and what we just read, it was maybe the first sentence that had the most maybe difficult English. Talks about Krishna's self-contradictory form. Okay, so like with Krishna's eyes, he can eat, and like that. And it's described in Bhagavad Gita, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadaya mortikimastani sarvam bhutini nachantesha bastita. That Krishna, I'm here and I'm not here. So Krishna is fully present through his energies. He's present in every ad, and yet he attains his full existence, his personal existence in Goloka Vrindavan, Achinchi Beta Beta Tattva. And okay, so the philosophy here is simultaneous oneness and difference. But it's not just simultaneous oneness and difference, it's Achinchi, the Achinchi in this verse, inconceivable simultaneous oneness and difference. Okay, so inconceivable, this word is used often. It doesn't mean like, oh, we can't understand, we need to have blind faith. It's not what it means. It means that to our mundane mind, senses, and intellect, that there's, we're not going to get it. We're not going to get it. We're all familiar with the 9 dots game, the 9 dots exercise. Okay? So Bhaktisiddhanta, or Lord Brahma is the speaker here. Bhaktisiddhanta is giving us the purport. He's basically, solving the 9 dots here. That's what's happening. That within the 9 dots, just like, okay, within the 9, because sometimes we'll run 9 dots. We'll go, okay, another 30 seconds. Right? But like, if I'm thinking in the paradigm, yeah, I'm not even thinking about it. Of course, it needs to be in the box. And we're not thinking out of the box. I could say another 30 minutes, another 300 million years. Okay? And then 100 million years, and then we're gonna, if you get the answer, raise your hand. It could, right? And so, so that's what Prabhupada's telling us. That's what BhaktisiddhantaAppearanceBrahmaSam, that's what Lord Brahma is saying. That to understand, to understand the essence of the Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Dry scholarship, it's just not going to do it. It's not going to do it. It won't achieve the goal. We could try for millions of years. There's a verse a little earlier in Brahma Samhita, wonderful verse. Antastu koti sadavatsara sampragamnyo bhayoratapi manasamuni pungavanam sopyastya prapadasim yavichinti tatve govindamadi pujam tamaham bhajani. So, well, I'll paraphrase the translation, but basically Brahma is talking there. He's talking about the yogis and the jnanis through their devotional, through their cognitive efforts and through their great austerities. And go, if they're sincere, then maybe after millions of lifetimes, millions and millions of trillions of years, maybe they'll get a glimpse of the radiance from the toenail of Krishna, if they're really sincere. Okay. And if there's any other agendas, then even after those millions and millions of years, we don't even get a glimpse of the radiance from the toenail of Krishna. Okay. And so, so getting out of the 9 dots, out of the box. So that's this devotion. And that's that unlocks the box. It's that devotion. And then, okay, to the extent that we're sincere, extent that we have that devotion, like I really want to please Krishna. And the way to do that is to please Krishna's pure devotee. Pure devotee is like, pure devotee knows that the pure devotee, Brahma is describing the pure devotee in this verse. He's describing the acharyas from the Purana. And they have, it's a secret, but it's an open secret. Krishna says, he says, I revealed to you the secrets of this knowledge. And this process is directly experienced. And it's joyfully performed. It's eternal and joyfully performed. Joyfully performed. That means it's a spirit's discipline, and it's get to. It's joyfully performed. Secret. Well, what's secret? Like Krishna, Bhagavad Gita has been broadcast, and you're not keeping the secret real well. You know, Bhagavad Gita's been broadcast to billions of people. What sort of secret is that? I don't see much confidentiality there. Right. And unless, right, it's broadcast widely. It's an open secret, because we're not going to get the secret. We're not going to get the secret, and unless we follow the guidance, of the Gita itself, the promise of Gita itself. There's one lecture, Prabhupada's quite animated and passionate in the transcendental sense, and he mentions Max Muller, who was one of the early scholars, German scholar, and early scholars of the Vedas from the Western world, British and Germany. And at one point, Prabhupada says, what does Max Muller know? What can he possibly understand? By staying in the 9 dots. Or another example, like trying to understand the taste of honey by looking outside of the bottle or analyzing. Or they're thinking about, I think honey tastes this. No, the other, you open the bottle and you taste it. Right? So through devotion, so Krishna in that verse, we said, so Krishna says, this knowledge is directly experienced, and not just, I believe it. I believe in Hinduism. I believe in Judaism. I'm an atheist. It's not about belief. It's not about belief. It's about a direct experience. It's a transformational experience. transformation. We give ourselves to this devotional process, and we have transformation of heart. We experience it. It's not about belief, and we can call ourselves white, black, woman, man, Muslim, tall, short, old, young. This is all superfluous. We give ourselves to this bhakti process. We have a transformational experience. And that's what Bhaktisiddhanta is talking about here. On the consideration of the trance of Vyasadeva in the shloka Bhakti Yoga Manasi. So if Krishna says pratyaka, this knowledge directly experienced, right? He's not talking about like, yes, through these eyes, I'm experiencing the color blue. And through these ears, I'm hearing this song on the radio. Let's talk about the soul has senses. And I'll call it unmediated perception. Actually, the translation Prabhupada uses in the Pratyakta Bhagavatam verse, not directly, so it's directly perceived. So the soul proper, the soul has full capacity for perception. To the extent that we're in conditioned life, then our perception is filtered, it's mediated. It's mediated through our false conception of self, false ego. It's mediated through mind. It's mediated through material intellect, and it's mediated through organic chemistry. There's a lecture you heard sometimes, the Prabhupada talks about the whole name, and he goes, it's not this, he has a very, because Prabhupada was a chemist, trained chemist, but he said it's not this gelatinous ball hanging in the liquid in this eye socket that sees. Right? This is just a mechanism. It's actually the soul that sees. But right now our seeing and our hearing and our smelling, it's filtered, it's mediated. So in devotional service, that all the masks get cleared, all the misconceptions get cleared, and the soul has a direct experience of spiritual sound vibration, transcendental sound vibration, spiritual fragrance, and as one involves, direct experience of Shyamasundar Krishna himself, his threefold bending form, graceful threefold bending form. So this is the direct experience of the soul, not in any way dependent on material mediation, material filters. So that's what's being referred to here. And so Bhaktisiddhanta in the purport he's referencing Vyasadeva in the shloka Bhakti Yogina Manasi. That's from the Bhagavatam. It's a very key place in the Bhagavatam. Very, very important, very important. That's first canto, 7th chapter, towards the beginning. As the 7th chapter goes on, we hear about Ashwatthama and how he killed the sons of Draupadi. Okay, but in the first part of the chapter, it's all about the trance, the Bhakti Yoga trance of Vyasadeva. This is essential. So Vyasadeva, most of us are familiar with this story. And Vyasadeva was bewildered. He compiled all the Vedas, but he wasn't bewildered. He was despondent. Now, people aren't going to get it. It's not going to transform their hearts. They're going to not get the essence. So his spiritual master Narada Muni came along. And Rumi goes, it's actually quite an empathic conversation. Narada Muni says, yeah, you're depressed. What's happening? And Vyasadeva goes, you don't need to ask me these open-ended questions. Something like that. He goes, no, you see my heart. You see my heart. You know what's happening. Yeah, I know what's happening. Yeah, you did this great literary output. You wrote that paper. You wrote the Vedas, for God's sake, not some trashy literature. But Narada Muni essentially says, buy you some kirtan. Because all this wonderful Vedas. This is like a pilgrimage place for crows. The crows assemble in the garden. Oh my God, you know about the Vedas. This isn't some trashy romance novel or something. So, yeah. And then Narada Muni said to Visargo Janataka Viplava Yasmin Pratishoka Yavagava Manyananta say Shokitanya Shubhatiganti Vinati Sada. Okay, so like that. Those literatures like Brahma Samhita, which fully glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead without any of these kind of cheating type of paths. These are the literatures that the swans, the Paramahamsa, the swan-like devotees are relishing. So as a result of that conversation, then Narada Muni left. It was described yesterday. He was at his ashram on the banks of the Sarasvati. And there were berry trees, beautiful description, berry trees all around on the banks of the Sarasvati. And Vyasadeva went into a trance, Bhakti Yoga Manasi, just like quoted by Bhaktisiddhanta. And then in that trance, Vyasadeva had a vision of absolute, an unmediated vision of absolute reality, soul to supreme soul. His vision of absolute truth, Sri Krishna, the personality of God, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu Sarvam Pravartati, the source of all material and spiritual energies. And on the back of Krishna, there's Krishna's servant Maya, the illusory energy. So Vyasadeva he's the compiler of all the Vedas. He's the writer. We can say writer, but the ordinary conception of writer doesn't apply. What do we call it? We'll call it, this is transpersonal authorship. That's why it's a vital point. That's why before speaking, we endeavor to follow in the line of transpersonal authorship. Om We invoke the presence that, like, may anything I say not be a function of my mediated mind and ego and senses. Oh, Krishna, oh, Srila Prabhupada, may this not be about me. May I be an instrument for transcendence. And that's the divine literatures. That's transpersonal authorship. So Vyasadeva has a particular realization in the maturity of the spiritual life. Sri Krishna, the personality of God, the source of the Brahman. Right? So the personality of God, Sri Krishna, just the Shyamasundara we're hearing about here, includes Brahman realization, includes super soul realization. That's what makes it the most supreme. One might be particularly attracted to Brahman and to escape from material miseries or super soul. Okay. But any conclusion about the Vedas, about yoga, that's not in line with Vyasadeva's conclusion, it's bogus, it's misleading. Okay? And then the next in line in that parampara, and this is a few verses later in the 7th chapter of the first canto, that's Vyasadeva's son. Quite a story there. He was in the womb for 16 or 19 years. He had some understanding about this material world, about what this material world's about. So he was like, nope, no, I'm not coming out. I'm just not doing it. And his mother and father were like, come on, it's like 16 years now. And he said, no, I'm just not doing it. So actually, but Krishna himself, and Krishna said, well, you have a particular mission here. It's quite an amazing story. Okay, so Shukadeva comes up. Shukadeva's already a self-realized soul. He's Brahman realized. Right? No material attachments. He's Brahman realized. Okay. And then it's described, and this is like Lord Chaitanya explains what's called the Atma Rama verse. He explains the Atma Rama verse in 64 different ways, in many places. In his past, he explains it to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, to Sanatana Goswami, to Prakshananda Sarasvati. So it must be an important verse. And the verse is Atma Ramas Chamuniyo Yanti Ayu Krani Kravantya Hate Kim Patini Tam Utaku no Hari. He says, okay, so that even those who are self-realized, with no material attachments. He's specifically talking about the son of Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami. Even they become attracted to the pastimes of Krishna. They become attracted to the form of Shyamasundara, with a flower garland around his neck, beautified with a moon locket, hands bedecked with jewels and the flute, who revels in pastimes of love, and whose graceful threefold bending form of Shyamasundara is eternally manifest. Lakshmi Sahasra Brahmasam5 Tamaham Bhajami. That's the first of the series of 27 verses. Lord Brahma, in Lord Brahma's unmediated vision of the look of Vrindavan, is his first expression is, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who was tending the cows, yielding all desires, and molds built to spiritual gems, surrounded by hundreds of thousands of purpose trees, and served with great reverence and affection by millions of gopis or Lakshmis. Okay? So Shukadeva Goswami, he was impersonally realized, and he was attracted to the highest expression of reality, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. So again, any understanding that's not aligned with this unmediated realization of Shukadeva and Vyasadeva, it's bogus, it's misleading. Bogus is misleading. So that's why, or at least one reason why, I mean, I know Bhaktisiddhanta very well, but that's certainly one reason why Bhaktisiddhanta mentions that part of the Bhagavatam. And so we cleanse whatever analogy we want to use. We cleanse the diamond. We pierce through all of our contaminated filters, gross and subtle, through this process of devotion. And then especially through hearing and chanting, shabda. Just like we read this verse, whether in the Sanskrit or in this translation, or every word of Bhaktisiddhanta's purport, every word of Prabhupada's purport, the sound vibration itself is identical with the truth that it represents. Whatever we cognitively understand or not, that's powerful. There's nothing more. Everything else is dull in comparison. And that's why the more we immerse ourselves in this transcendental sound vibration and transcendental form, transcendental communication, the more we immerse ourselves, especially in the sound vibration, then the more and more other sound vibrations and activities become, oh my God. Right. So, and then more and more, our heart of hearts becomes, we go towards prema. Our heart of hearts becomes favorable, lovingly favorable towards Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Okay, so much there. Premanjana charita bhakti virochanena shanta sadaiva vidayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundara chintya guna svarupam govindamai purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is Shamasundar, Krishna himself, possessing innumerable, inconceivable, transcendental attributes, and whom the pure devotees see in their heart, apart with the eye of devotion, tinged with the salve of love. Hare Krishna, thank you for your presence and attention. And I welcome at this time any comments, realizations, questions anyone wants to express.
My question is not connected with Bhaktisiddhanta, but with this verse. Every time I hear this verse, the question that comes to me is that, is there any devotion without love? Because the devotion tinged with like drop of love. So it always kind of brings a question for me, because it seems that devotion is automatically tinged with love.
Yes. So why does he say both?
Yeah, and even in the verbal that you write towards the end also. Bhaktisiddhanta will speak about that. So that, why is it, like, is there such a thing as devotion that's not tinged with love? Can we manifest devotion without love?
Sorry. Hare Krishna. Well, thanks for your sharing, Melanie. I mean, my understanding there is that, it's a progression. It's a progression, and so I think so. Devotion, we had like a 9-step progression, culminating in the 9th step, which is this prema, the first word. But like, okay, so just like if it's just like, okay, I chant my rounds in the morning, and like, there's different levels of definitions. So I chant my rounds. I get it. Here I am on a Thursday morning. Here we are about almost 20 of us, about 9 a.m. or 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. in some other parts here on a Thursday. And here we are with BrahmaSam5, Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta. Well, we're devoting our time. There must be some devotion. Does that mean we have prema? So to have like this vision, that means that our devotion is with prema. So, so the acharyas like Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, they'll use terms in different ways, for different circumstances. For example, even the term love. There was a Shuti Kirti. And so he was Prabhupada's servant for a minute. I think if you look at Prabhupada's history, he spent the most time as Prabhupada's direct personal servant. And he has his biography called What is the Difficulty, which is a phrase Prabhupada used to use. Anyhow, there's one pastime there. And like they were at the, it was one of the airport teams, and the devotees were greeted Prabhupada at the airport with ecstatic kirtan and this and that. And so then they got to the temple, and Shuti Kirti was unpacking Prabhupada's suitcase and like that. And he shared with Prabhupada, he goes, Prabhupada, all these devotees, they have so much love for you. They have so much love for you. And I'm not feeling that, because he was feeling inadequate or maybe even envious. They were all effusion with love of Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada said, well, do you like taking care of my belongings? Oh yeah, Prabhupada, I like that so much. Do you like preparing prasad for me? Oh yeah, I'm so much appreciated. And so Prabhupada, do you like doing these services? And then Prabhupada said, that is love. So, whether Shuti Kirti, I know Shuti Kirti. Shuti Kirti he's the stepfather of a Safato course organizer. And he picked me up at the Heathrow Airport, summer of 2004. And we rode to there was some festival in South England in tents with the Vaishnav youth. And it was supposed to be an hour and a half drive, but it was like rain and traffic took about 5 hours. So we had a lot of association. And he really appreciated the Safato seminars. So whether he had the prema and like that, but so if someone has enough faith to pick up one book or to come to a program, well, there's some devotion there. It's not necessarily that they have prema.
I guess what you're saying is that the gradation, for me, devotion is something that is with love. And so I have an understanding of devotion on a level that's not connected with what I'm doing. But you're looking like, okay, there is gradation, and then we show our devotion to our faith, to our action, to our activities. And then, but that's not a devotion necessarily tinged with love.
I feel understood in what I expressed. Yeah, in a very high, strict sense, there's no devotion until we're at least at the bhava stage. Mm-hmm. In the very high, strict sense, yeah, there's no bhakti. Let's not call it bhakti till we're at least at the bhava stage. But then from the perspective of give me a break, then it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. That I chanted a mantra. I came to when I read. I took a few minutes.
This is sadhana bhakti.
Sadhana bhakti. Yeah. So that's also bhakti.
So, from the verse, I understood that we will never see Krishna with his eyes.
Well, not with material eyes. We need to see Krishna. We need to develop spiritual eyes.
Well, but the spiritual eyes are not here.
Right. Well, they could be here.
They could be spiritualized.
Yeah. So
those gelatin things.
Those gelatin things.
But
yeah.
He says the eye is the heart. So it sounds to me like it's like seeing with your heart, but not seeing with your eyes, even if they are spiritualized.
Yeah.
But I think our Arjuna, when he sees the universal form in Bhagavad Gita, he kind of gets the eyes to see. I was thinking, like these eyes.
He gets transcendent, he gets specialized to see.
And also the devotees who have devotion, who have bhakti, when they see the deities, they don't see brass. They see Krishna. They see Lord Chaitanya, they see Nishingadeva. And that, you know, that go through the gelatin thing, but that's spiritualized, and then they see Krishna.
So it like feels like seeing with his eyes, but
It's piercing through the eyes. It's kind of like David have glasses. So he has glasses, and there is like a oneness between his glasses and him. But like if he's really aware and can see, like there is no identification with the glasses, but he can still use the glasses to see. So the soul can still use the eyes to see, but there is no identification with the eyes.
but now the eyes are like they are going to have his glasses.
Yeah, I don't have the experience of these pure souls, so I don't know what their experience is. At the same time, yeah, so we know that if they're seeing the deity, they're actually having that unmediated vision of the deity. And when they're hearing the holy name, when they're hearing Hare Krishna, they're having a direct experience of this verse, like that. Okay, now that direct experience is not dependent on any ears or eyes. Still, in this particular manifestation, Bhaktisiddhanta Srila Prabhupada, they can co-create that experience with Krishna through what to us might look like ordinary eyes or ears. And the idea is Atashi Krishna Namadi Nambavad Grahimindriya Sevan Mukhi Jivanel Swaimevas Bharatyada. That by engaging in sadhana bhakti, so just like in this very moment, we're developing spiritual eyes. And we're developing spiritual ears and a spiritual heart by exposing ourselves to this sound vibration. So I don't have much realization about, okay, there's like spiritual, like Chintamani atoms. Okay, and then there's this, but this stuff too, this can become like an iron rod. Prabhupada gives that example. That's why in the Nectar of Instruction, it's given, even though the body of a pure devotee might seem material, we should never regard it as material. It's completely spiritual. And it could be seen, well, so like as we practice the process, then these bodies become like an iron rod. Prabhupada gives the example, like an iron rod, if it's placed in the fire, it becomes red hot, blue hot, white hot. And it gets so hot that then it's identical with fire. It acts like fire. It's still iron, but it acts like fire. So it's not, in some sense, it's not like the Chintamani atoms of the spiritual realm. At the same time, it acts like them. And that's why the pure devotee's vibration has that spiritually transformational potency.
The spirit soul has the same quality like Krishna, like all his senses can, like every sense can do the work for any other sense. Like he can see with his ears and like that. So the spirit soul has the same quality.
That's my understanding. Yeah, that's my understanding.
So maybe I will see Krishna with my knee or something.
Yeah. Yeah, but right now our conception of knee is completely within the 9 dots.
I'm curious about, and I think you commented on this at least once, but the word contradictory, could you just comment on it again for me? Like, I think Bhaktisiddhanta used that word either in his translation or in his purport.
Yeah.
It was right at the beginning, and I'm still just a little lost on how to understand what you said about it. I don't remember.
Thank you, Bhaktisiddhanta. Bhaktisiddhanta uses the term self-contradictory form, and I equated it to the achintya word, inconceivable. Meaning with our mundane mind and senses, we can't conceive it. Like, oh, okay, so Krishna is in Goloka Vrindavan, Shama Sundar playing the flute, dancing with the gopis. Okay, well, if he's there, then he's not here. Well, no, he's there and he's here simultaneously. It's the oneness and difference, and to get how there's a purport in Bhagavad Gita where Prabhupada says, your grandmother is Krishna. Usually we don't hear that, but my grandmother is Krishna, he says, and your grandfather, and Krishna is appearing in each atom. He's appearing in each atom. The example is given of, like, we can say, oh, the sun's coming into the room because the sun rays are non-different than the sun globe. So whenever we talk about this oneness and difference, as long as we're within the 9 dots, it's like, well, that's a contradiction. And when we get out of the 9 dots through devotion, we realize how things are simultaneously one, Krishna and not Krishna. Anandini, you had a comment?
Yeah, I was thinking that related to what Lardini said, even material things, like from what I understand about research, about the brain and the eyes don't see. The eyes just like take in the information and pass it on to the brain.
Yeah.
The brain creates the picture. So, and it seems like all the sense, that's what I understand, that all the senses, they are here for us to gather information.
Yeah.
It's just that we're trained too much on the eyes, and then we have these visions. But actually the same happens with sound and with touch and with smell. It also creates this pool of information in our brain. So yeah, what does it actually mean? Transcendental senses or transcendental eyes? I don't know either. I don't have experience. But yeah, that's okay to my mind.
I appreciate that point very much. Yeah, because even if we think of material or empirical science, we have a direct perception, but it's not a direct perception. And even they know that, right? The ear is, okay, it's a particular machine that responds to a frequency, and then it sends the signals to the brain. Same with the eye, same with the nostrils, same with the tactile sense and the tongue. And it just, yeah, it's not like the tongue is tasting, but it sends to the brain, and then the brain processes, right? And then what material science is missing is the conscious entity, that's experiencing. Like, okay, so right now, I'm looking at that cushion, and I'm experiencing red. Okay, so you could certainly, maybe they have, design a machine, and that when there's different light frequencies, the computer might make a sound. I see red.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy enough these days. Okay. But is the computer experiencing red? Is the computer experiencing warm? No, it's not, because the conscious entity, the experiencer is missing. And we have the science of the experiencer here in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam Brahmasamhita. Thanks for that, Anandini. It's an excellent point.
Yes. Oh, George, you wanted to share?
Oh,
No, go ahead, Anandini.
Just an addition, I read an article about people who, when they hear sounds, when they hear sounds, they also see colors.
yeah. Okay.
that there's also this, yeah, like that each information has sound, it has color, it has touch, it has.
Thanks for that. Yeah, and so they hear sound, they see colors, and so that's like a glimpse. It's like maybe a shadow reflection of the Angani Yaska Sakalindriya principle. That with one sense we experience, we can do the function of all the senses. Yeah, I mean, I've had such experiences, but I won't talk about under what context. And so, but those experiments indicate indicate like some shadow glimpse of that spiritual principle. That with one sense we can have unmediated experience of the reality of all the senses.
So the people who figured out the ability to see the turbine,
Yeah.
they can blind their eyes completely and see.
Yeah.
And the gelatin thing is not even used for seeing.
Well, what I meant to say is that each sound has all information, and that we can, like, we're so limited,
Yeah,
that we just hear maybe a sound or we just see a color. We don't perceive like all information, sound, color, touch, and then the divine behind it. You know what I mean?
yeah. Like each sound, there's so much richness and fullness there, and we're getting maybe 1% of 1%, and we're so limited that's when we talk about these filtered, our material senses, which filter and mediate our experience of reality. You know, we talk about the inherent human defects, and one of them is there's limitation and imperfection, and limitation that even like, okay, what's going on half an inch behind my head right now? Even something simple like that, I don't have access to. What to speak of? Yeah, how much information is available in each vibration, and I just get a shadow glimpse of it. Thank you, Anandini. Dr. George.
Hare Krishna, David. I was just inspired by Anandini, just to her sharing kind of drove the point home for me that these about these bodies just being material filters, and I just wanted to give 2 concrete examples.
Yes.
That really helped me kind of have some realization about this point. And the first is the blind spot in the eye, because we say, we mentioned eye in terms of gelatin, but there's a blind spot in the eye where the blood supply and the nerve supply enter, and literally in this part of the retina, there's no eye, there's no sensors. So the mind literally creates an illusion of what that spot is. It literally is an illusion. We've done tests in school of this where we see something and then we see something different. And then the other thing I wanted to say from a lecture from an ear, nose, and throat doctor that we had a month ago in Grand Rounds here at Shands, they are able to now create implants for the ear in people that have been born deaf. So these people have never heard sound. And because they were born deaf, the nerves that normally would come together to interpret the sound that is happening, when they receive this implant later in life, these people actually don't hear sound. They feel it.
Wow.
Different parts of the body. So they might feel it in their abdomen, in the skin on their abdomen, or in their chest, or on their shoulder. The sound that was interpreted by the machine, because the nerves were never developed in the ear to kind of interpret it in the mind, they actually feel it in their skin, in different parts of their body when they're exposed to sound. So I just wanted to share that as a kind of unique kind of example of the filters that are these machine bodies.
Thanks for those illuminating examples from from the medical field. Thank you.
They feel it after they receive the input?
What's that?
They feel it after they receive the input?
That was what I understood from George. Yeah, they're experiencing sound with senses other than the ear. That's what I'm understanding.
Do you like this quote from BhaktisiddhantaAppearanceBrahmaSam5? I think it's the first time I actually got something out of it.
Yeah.
So I'm celebrating progress.
Celebrated.
You're so practical and so relatable, and I really appreciated it. And I feel like such a fool. Like I could be there like with Krishna and here, you know, I couldn't see anything with my eyes or with my knees. So I just like really feel like a fool.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I think over the years, when like at programs, when I've read from BrahmaSam5, I've tended to read like the foreword, and then the first verse, Ishvara Brahma Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karni Karnam. I worship Krishna, the supreme controller, the cause of all causes, with a body eternally full of bliss and knowledge. Bhaktisiddhanta's preface and his purports to the very first verses are especially difficult English, but it gets easier as we go on.
So we are saying that it's nothing to celebrate, it's just easier.
Well, it's something to celebrate because we're maybe getting a fuller grasp of Bhaktisiddhanta, so that it is something to celebrate. But just if anyone has or ever tries to go through Brahmasamhita, it does a word of encouragement. The English gets easier as it goes on. But whatever we understand, Srila Prabhupada would say, that he didn't have much personal contact with Bhaktisiddhanta, just a handful of times, in 1922, 1933, 1928 in Allahabad, and a few times, 33 in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada would say, he would listen, he would go to the lectures, and Prabhupada would say, I didn't understand anything. Maybe he'd say, I didn't understand much. Prabhupada would say. He would say, but I loved being at his lectures. And Bhaktisiddhanta, because there's this one well-known pastime. Prabhupada was there, I think maybe Prabhupada about his youngest son, Vrindavan Chandra, visited Bhaktisiddhanta, I think in Vrindavan, but somewhere in there. And then there was a big tour to one of the deities in Vrindavan. And most everyone was going on the tour. And simultaneously, Bhaktisiddhanta was giving a talk. And Prabhupada was very clear, he's gonna listen to the talk from his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta. And Prabhupada said, Bhaktisiddhanta Martin. He said, yes, this boy, and Prabhupada was maybe in his 30s at the time, but this boy likes to hear. This boy likes to hear. And so someone likes to hear, then they'll become very expert at sharing. So Prabhupada said, Bhaktisiddhanta Martin, this boy likes to hear, I like that. Yeah. But Prabhupada would say, I didn't understand much, but it's purified.
So because since Srimad Bhagavatam that I have memorized, it seems that like to hear, that's all that's all it takes.
Yeah. It doesn't say. The main thing is getting an intellectual understanding.
It's like just develop the attraction to hear. That's all. Hare Krishna.
I think it was shocked me 2 years ago that this one devotee found this old document of Prabhupada signing for the first time with the title that Bhaktisiddhanta gave him. And up until that point, I thought it would be Bhaktivedanta, but actually it was Bhaktisiddhanta. He was giving the title Bhaktisiddhanta by his spiritual master, but his godbrothers, they changed it. They told him, no, you cannot sign in Bhaktisiddhanta, you have to sign in Bhaktivedanta.
I've never heard that. You know, if it's authorized, I'd be interested to see the documentation.
It seems that Bhaktisiddhanta Sarvatiya just changed the name from Abhecham to Abhacham Avinda. That's the initiation. Because just anyway after Bhaktisiddhanta Sarvatiya left the planet.
Yeah. Prabhupada got the name Bhaktivedanta from the Gaudiya Math when he, at some point from his scholarship, Bhaktisiddhanta gave him Abhayacharya and everything. Was there any comment on the internet here? Danielle. Yes, Danielle.
So I have often thought about how Krishna created this entire realm that we live in, including our bodies and our consciousness, and yet we are separate from him, and yet completely contained within him and surrounded by him and created of him. And this is a very difficult principle or difficult reality to kind of internalize for me. And I got some sense of it being pregnant with Saraswati, because she was completely contained within me and made by my body, you know, made within me, contained within me, part of me, and yet she had no really understanding of me as a person. You know, she was tasting me constantly, she was smelling me constantly, she was feeling me constantly, and yet could not taste, smell, feel me at all, or see me at all, or have any concept of what I was, and yet she was completely contained within me. And the thing that is interesting about babies is they recognize their mother's voices. Like, it pierces all the veils of ignorance. It completely shatters the darkness, the sound vibration. And that brings me back to chanting. Like, that's the importance of the chanting. We can be contained in Krishna, and really it's the sound vibration that's penetrating. So just wanted to.
I appreciate that experience and how you're using the experience of Saraswati in your womb and Saraswati's relation with you and your voice as a metaphor of our relationship with Krishna, and chanting Hare Krishna. Beautiful. Thanks for sharing.
Shamsundar was not actually an incarnation of Krishna, it's just like a name for Krishna.
That's the language I would use. Yeah, it's not like an expansion. He's a name for Krishna. Govinda, Gopal is a name for Krishna. Whereas Nrsimhadev is an expansion of Krishna. Or yes, Pradyumna is an expansion of Krishna.
Gopal refers to baby Krishna. So Shama assumes that big Gopal is not a different incarnation, it's just Krishna when Krishna was a baby. So Shama Sundar is like black Krishna.
Yeah.
Dark Krishna.
Dark blue ring club.
Okay.
And beautiful. It was the what to what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And beautiful.
Dark blue, beautiful, beauty. Yeah.
I'm really attracted to that name. Where is Krishna? The beautiful is Sundaram. It's not Shama.
Yeah, Shama Sundar.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Here, Shama is dark blue.
Yeah.
And then Sundaram is
Sundaram
beautiful. But oftentimes when Prabhupada's talking about the Shama, dark bluish form, it's integrated with beautiful.
All the name of Krishna are according to his form, pastimes, association with his devotees. So that's the name of Krishna.
Shri Brahma Samhita ki jai, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Goswami ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Hare Krishna. For those who are observing, it's a half-day fast, and yes, Hare Krishna. I will stop the recording. Yes.